Hello and welcome to the Gonzo Ewok channel. My name is Ewok and I'm going to be playing some Stellaris. Stellaris is a grand strategy stroke 4X kind of game from Paradox. I think it's had a bit of a shaky launch. It came out, I don't know, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. And it was alright, and it got a big patch very quickly, which was good going. The Asimov patch, unfortunately, that patch caused some problems, and the development team immediately went on leave, and as a result, I kind of sort of drifted away from it while I was waiting for some bugs that I was encountering to be fixed, and now they're back off leave. They've released a couple of hot picks, get your hot picks here. Released a couple of hot fixes, and it seems to reportedly solved some of the issues I was having, so I thought, time for a new game. And since I've got a couple of days off work, I've got time to record some. I was supposed to be playing No Man's Sky today. It is what is the date today? It's the 10th of August, yeah. And it was supposed to be out today, and it's been delayed until the 12th for PC. So I'm going to play this instead. It's pretty good. I like it. So, starting a new game, I'm going to create a new race. This is probably the most important thing you'll do in a game of Stellaris because it dictates the way that you play the entire game. I'm going to start off with appearance. Those of you who follow the game will notice that I don't have the Plantoids cosmetic DLC pack yet. I will get it, but I spent my money this month on No Man's Sky and Wolfenstein New Order and Old Blood, so a little strapped at the moment. So I think I kind of want to create like a mean kind of race. So I want something that looks mean. Obviously that's the meanest look that you can get in this game, but I want to play a little more unfamiliar. They look pretty mean. They look kind of like grubby. And maybe I'll step outside the mammalian comfort zone a bit. Well, look at those guys, those reptilian dudes. They're cool. Yeah, I think I'll stick with them. I'll randomise the species name because I don't particularly care. The Rethilians. That's cool. Name lists. Again, I can pick a random one because I'm not too precious. Those ones are pretty cool. The Pandasak. The Maktisam battle group. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, this is where I'll probably want to spend a bit more time when I'm doing things like traits and ethics and things like that. I think this is racial traits, so these are the traits that my specific race members will have, so they won't be shared by any other races that I bring into my empire or whatever later on. So I'm going to come back to these once I've decided what my government and ethics are going to be, and then I'm going to pick traits that make my race fit better into my government and ethics. Random home world, and I'm going to pick arid world, I think, as the standard. I'm going to pick desert world. My reptilian race is cold-blooded and requires the sun. And we're from Hydax and the star Hydol. I have a reptilian city. Is there a reptilian city? Yes, there is a reptilian city type. That's what my cities look like. Focus very much on the cosmetics at the moment. Okay, government and ethics. So I've got 3 points to spend on this ethics wheel, which changes how my government operates and how the game operates. So I can be a xenophile, a fanatic xenophile, on the other side, xenophobe, fanatic xenophobe. Collectivists are individuals. I'm going to be collectivists because they are tolerant to slavery and I want to be an evil bunch, so I'm going to be enslaving people. Xenophile and xenophobe, I don't want either of those. I'm going to be fairly mean to everybody. Race not mattering. Spiritualist or materialist. So spiritualists are religious types, and your materialists are scientist types. Both of which would be quite good for slavery, I suppose. The spiritualists have a reduction in ethics divergence, so people in your empire are less likely to move away from the values of your empire, so it's easier to keep them happier. That's good for a sort of slavey race. But then again, materialists gives you a scientific bonus, and there's some pretty cool scientific things you can unlock later on that will help enslave people. I like the idea of enslaving people using my superior technology rather than any religious motivations. You can sort of double up on these and take a fanatic, so I could be a fanatic collectivist rather than a collectivist, and that gives me an increased advantage over standard collectivist. Costs 2 points instead of 1 point, but let's have a look around the wheel. I'm thinking I might go for a militarist. It gives me an increase to happiness during war, a slight increase to weapons damage, and allows me to have more rivals, diplomatic rivals, which can give me a bonus to the influence that I have on the map. So I'm going to be collectivist, militarist, materialist. I'm going to be military scientists that enslave the population for the greater good. So that's my ethics, and I get to choose a government type, and the ones that are greyed out I can't choose because I don't have the ethics to match them. So everything down the left hand side here are democracy types. Because I'm a collectivist, I can't have democracy. So I've got 6 available government types. I've got the military ones. I can be a military junta that has an election every 40 to 50 years, and the elections between the military personnel not voted for by the public. Military dictatorship, which holds an election upon ruler death. That gives me extra influence, lower ship costs, increased naval capacities. These ones are the materialist related ones, so a science directorate, again that's every 40 to 50 years we have an election. It's the scientists who can stand. It gives me research bonuses essentially. It's sort of a scientific dictatorship, which gives me increased research speed and station costs. These ones are the standard ones that everyone generally gets the choice from. So standard oligarchy. I think it's oligarchy. It's not a word that I say very often. I've seen it written down, but it's not a word that comes up in conversation a lot. That gives me a boost to energy credits, minerals, and mining station costs. And a despotic empire, it gives me a boost to slaves, food, and mineral output, and a reduction in building costs. So if I'm building on slaves, despotic empire it is. So a very much a traditional imperialist kind of structure to my government. This government is a relatively pure form of autocracy with an absolute ruler that governs the state with an iron-gripping appendage. I like it. Building costs minus 15%, slaves, mineral and food output plus 10%. Okay, so now I've got my government set up. I'm going to go back to traits and pick something that works with that government. Decadent is a negative trait, so that'll give me points that I can spend on more positive traits. And it basically means that if I don't have any slaves, I get a minus to resource output. So I'm going to have slaves, so that seems like a no-brainer. Doesn't clarify too much to me whether that means I need to have slaves just within my empire or slaves on the planet, or whether I need slaves on every particular resource. But what the heck, I'm going to have lots of slaves anyway, so let's go for that. Gives me 3 points left to spend. Okay, so rabbit breeders for 1 point. Oops, that's growth time, talented learners, charismatic. Conformist gives minus 20% to ethics divergence, so that's going to stop people slipping away from my collectivist, materialist, blah 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 blah, which is good, because then they'll be happy with my government and less likely to revolt, and that's a benefit because slaves will have a negative to ethics divergence, so that'll keep them on my side. You know what, I might go for that as well, enduring, so lifespans are unusually long, a leader lifespan of plus 30 years. That can make a lot of difference, because it means my leaders, which are my scientists, my admirals, my generals, my governors, and my empire leader himself, have more time to get more experience and be better leaders, so I think I'll go for that. So enduring conformists, and they're decadent, they need their sleeves. Pick my ruler titles: Empress and Crown Princess for females, Emperor and Crown Prince for males. I'm happy enough with that. Hask Zumon Mezak is my Emperor Mezak. And I'm going to close my eyes, and that's what he looks like, and close my eyes again, and that's what he's wearing. So that's my Emperor, Hask Zuman Mezak. Empire name, the Empire of Hydor. They are the Hydorians. Presumably named after not my species, but after my homeworld. Where's my homeworld? I've lost it. Homeworld. Oh yeah, my homeworld is Hydor. I'm not sure I like that. The Rethalian Galactic Empire. Oh, the Galactic Empire. That's very, very dark side, isn't it? I quite like that. The Rethalian Galactic Empire. Sweet. Pick a flag. Let's not spend too long on this. So, domination, and we'll have that flaming thingy, and we'll do that. And there we go. What a lovely flag. So now I get to customise my ships by picking what weapons I start with. So projectile weapons, which are good at going through shield, energy weapons, which are good at going through armour, missile weapons, which are good at everything but vulnerable to point defence. I'm going to go with energy weapons. To be honest, it's not quite as paper, scissors, stones as some other games, because you'll research all weapons. You can put a mixture of weapons on ships, so you can specialise ships. You can put armour, blah blah blah. Sometimes sometimes it is ideal to scope out what the enemy is using and then adapt your fleet to fight against the enemy. But other times it's not practical to do that because of the cost and the time that would be involved in upgrading all of your ships. So whatever, I'm going to go with energy weapons. FTL methods are far more interesting. You've got warp drives, hyperspace, and wormhole. Warp drives is limitless. You can pick any direction, go to any place. You're not limited to specific routes. You've got a relatively decent range, but it's slow. And when you arrive at your destination, you've got a cooldown time, and during that cooldown time, you can't move. Hyperspace is very quick, but you're limited to specific hyperspace routes, so links between specific stars. So it's quick, but it's also limited, and you can get held up by choke points. Wormhole travel's got, I think, the longest range, and it is very quick, but you need wormhole generators in your star systems in order to create the wormholes that you travel through. I'm going to pick that one. I've never played with a wormhole race before. I've done hyperspace, I've done warp travel, I've not done wormholes, so it'll be an interesting one. It means that I'll probably have to protect my wormhole stations. I know that in some of the games that I've been playing, when I've gone to war with the wormhole race, the first thing I would do is blow up all their wormhole stations to kind of limit their travel availability, so it'll require a bit of care on my part. But if I can manage to maintain those stations, hopefully it'll mean I've got good range and I'm fast, so I can outpace my enemies. So the last thing is my ship appearance. I think I will go with the standard reptilian ships, even though I love the avian ships. I think the avian ships look really cool, but I'm going to go with the standard reptilian ships. So that's it. Race created. Big part of the game, race creation, as I said, because it dictates the entire way that you're going to play the game. So if I don't play to my collectivist, militarist, materialist, decadent, conformist, enduring, things are going to be difficult for me. Basically, by the fact that I've spent points on that kind of setup, I want to follow that kind of setup, which means I'm all about the research. I am going to need to fight, and it's going to be more difficult for me to make allies. And slavery is pretty much my one advantage, and it's a must that I have to go down. But fortunately, my decadent conformists are well suited to a slavery base. And with that done, well, I'll save them in case I want to use them again, or have them in another one of my games as an enemy. Finally, game details. Well, because I'm recording this for the sake of a let's play, I'm going to set it on tiny, and that is simply because this game I would like to end at some point. I don't want it to be one that goes on for all time. How am I going to set it to small? Because tiny wants me to only put on 2 AI empires, and that seems very small. Whereas small wants me to put on 11 AI empires, which seems quite big. I would kind of like to hit somewhere in the middle. I want to put no advanced AIs on. I want everyone to start at the same kind of level, with the exception of fallen empires, who I've no doubt we'll come across at some point. I am going to put it on tiny, but I'm just going to boost the races up, so we've got 4 opponents. And it'll be 4 opponents plus a fallen empire, so there's going to be 5 guys I'm going up against. I'll set it. I'll keep everything at normal. Allowed FTL method. You can restrict it so that everyone's restricted to one kind of FTL method. That can be really interesting. Hyperdrive games means you can really take advantage of those choke points. Wormhole games means everyone's got to be defensive around that. Warp games are very standard. But I'm going to put anything on so anyone is allowed to do anything. I'll have an elliptical galaxy. A ring galaxy would be a little bit more restrictive. An elliptical will spread the stars around a little bit more. And let's get this game loaded up. In the eons since the first primitive Rathellan communities took shape amid the great dune seas of Hydrax, our civilization has spread and prospered. The early chaotic periods of our history saw many nation-states vying with each other for power until we were at last united under the strongest of these. Only when guided by a single vision could we reach our full potential, and an era of stability and scientific progress followed. Now, after the successful creation of artificial subspace wormholes, the finest minds of the Rathellan Galactic Empire have finished the construction of the first wormhole station at the edge of our system. The stars themselves are finally within our grasp. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it a day. So please join me next time, where we'll begin the game proper. And we'll see how the Rathellan Galactic Empire gets on. See you then.